Are you looking to understand the basics of live streaming? You might be an event planner, or you're maybe event adjacent, or you're just a curious person about live streaming. Well, I'm an event producer, and I learned a lot about all of this during COVID, and it has been a tool that I've felt is just useful to have as an event producer, event planner in your back pocket. And in this video, I'm going to cover some key terms like RTMP and Streamkey, and then I'm going to give you the basics for what you need as a bare minimum to live stream. Before we jump into it, I'm Logan Clements. I'm a freelance event producer based in Seattle, Washington, but I execute events here and all over the world. I do want to remind you to like, subscribe, turn on that little notification bell so you get notified every single Monday when I drop new videos. I'm also the co-host of the Better Events podcast with fellow event pro Mary Davidson. We release episodes every single Wednesday, and we dive even more into these topics that I cover here on YouTube. Think more like a 25-30-minute episode on everything from what makes a great stage manager to building a run a show, talking to different vendors, nonprofit fundraising gala tips. I mean, you name it, we have guests on there. Wherever you listen to podcasts, go give the Better Events podcast a listen. I love doing these like 101 videos because even as someone who is presenting this information to you as someone who's learned it before, I get to learn something. So it's just the best part. Now, when I talk about, what do I mean when I say live streaming? So live streaming means anything that you are trying to send your event to somewhere in the virtual world. Maybe you used Zoom to live stream. Maybe you've used YouTube or Vimeo. And I'm going to do in my part 2, I'll talk more about those things. But you're essentially trying to send video, audio, sound, all kinds of things into the internet for people to watch virtually. 2 key terms that I say are going to come up when you talk about live stream. One is called RTMP and one is called Streamkey. So what is RTMP? I'm going to show you right here, but it stands for Real-Time Messaging Protocol. And YouTubers, I didn't know that. I knew what an RTMP was. I just didn't know what RTMP stood for. So now we all know real-time messaging protocol. It essentially lets you send data over the internet, which, like I mentioned, would be video, audio, whatever it is you're sending out. And so what RTMP does is it actually is going to take your data files, like your video, if I was going to show this video to you live versus you watching it on demand, and it puts those in little packets and they get sent to an end destination. So that's where they're getting sent to YouTube. And so they're getting sent to Vimeo, or Zoom is sending it to YouTube or Facebook or LinkedIn Live, wherever you're going live. And so the really important part here is if you are capturing video, you're then going to use RTMP to then send it to wherever you are hosting the video. I want to host something on YouTube Live. I would then get the RTMP information, which is going to usually be like a link that from my YouTube Live that I've set up. And then I'm using that information to go into my encoder. And there's a bunch of different softwares you can use as encoders. My free one that I like using is called OBS. I personally do not operate OBS, but I work with a number of folks I call streaming engineers who do work with OBS. There's also vMix, and there's some more robust streaming things. There's also, on the most basic level, this is what a tool like StreamYard does. I use that for the podcast with Mary, and that does the talking from StreamYard into YouTube. It automatically will find that information and create that live, but you are also able to use StreamYard to push to a custom destination. So RTMP is just one piece. RTMP is the link. The second piece of jargon from live streaming is called a stream key. And so the cool part with this is I've found is the RTMP is the link of here's what we're sending our encoder to. And then the key is where it actually is landing. If you look at RTMP stream key, I'm going to show you some examples from an event. And then you look at and you see the link's actually the same because we're using YouTube Live and we're using the same YouTube account. Now the stream keys are a bunch of gobbledygook letters and numbers, and those are unique for each video that we're doing. So think of those as the unique destination for your video. So it was one stream key link to go to the same YouTube account, but different stream keys for each video. And they were tests we were doing. We did a rehearsal and then the actual one. And those need to have 3 different stream keys because it's 3 different destinations or 3 different rooms. So a stream key, like I mentioned, it's again, a key, think of a key. So it's a unique identifier for the destination to your stream. So again, you use this for YouTube, you can use this for Twitch, and that's where I would find the stream key from YouTube, and then I'm putting that into my streaming software, which would be like OBS Studio. There's another thing called Restream. There's StreamYard. There's so many different tools you can use, but that's going to then capture your video, your audio, whatever it is, and they push it into YouTube. So you need the RTMP is the link of where you're going, and then the stream key is essentially the unique identifier that tells it where to go on YouTube. Now, the link that I'm talking about with RTMP Stream, I want to caveat, is not the same as like the YouTube link we would all know. It is specifically, it has RTMP in it. But again, you would find this in your YouTube live studio specifically. Again, I'll talk more about this in my next video with some more live streaming details. But I think to wrap this up, you've hopefully learned what a stream key is, you've learned what RTMP is, and you at least know those jargon. If you hear them in a meeting, that means they're talking about the stream. And then just like a basic live stream setup, you need to have cameras or a camera, one singular camera you could do it with. I always like 3 as a minimum if I'm doing any kind of live stream for an event, just to have it be a little more polished. But if you're doing a board meeting or something, you can get away with 1 camera, and you need something for audio. So again, if it's a very basic setup, if we were just doing a video call in Zoom, your laptop is your camera and your microphone. If you're doing an event, though, of any form, I really highly suggest using actual microphones that feed into the stream. Your AV team can usually help you use the same microphones that you're sending into the room to also go out on the stream. So that's an easy kind of redundancy there. And then I'd say my only other tip would be to make sure that you have, if you're trying to level it up, would then be to have a switcher, which a switcher is a little control panel that your AV team would have that would help them control what your virtual folks are seeing, whether it's full screen slides, the camera shot. I did a show recently where we did a hybrid setup. We had an in-person show and virtual, and we actually needed 2 switchers. We wanted a switcher for the room and a switcher for virtual because at times we were showing slightly different views. So you might need more than 1 switcher, but at least you need a camera and a microphone. And that'll set you up for the most basic of streaming. So hopefully you learned something. There's so much more we can talk about. Again, this is going to be a part 1. I'm definitely doing a part 2 about live streaming for event planners. But now you know what an RTMP is. Now you know what a stream key is. So go out and live stream. I'm Logan Clements. I'm a freelance event producer based in Seattle, Washington, but I execute events here and all over the world. I do want to thank you for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.